We are going to take a look at some project level financial reporting that we have. And then we're also going to take a look as a whole company, some of the reporting levels that we have there. So first, what I'm going to do is I am going to jump into a project so that we can take a look at that project level kind of financial overview. All right, so once we are in our project, we are going to access our budget tab. So anytime in RedTeam that you see this view button at the top, that is going to give you access to certain reports that you can pull per tab. Each tab within RedTeam will have some sort of reporting that you can pull. Today, though, we're going to focus on our budget tab, and then we're going to focus on our financial overview. So once we pull up this report is going to give us a lot of really good detailed information on our financial health within this project. So I'm going to start at the top here, and I'm going to work my way down to the bottom. The first thing that I do want to bring up, however, is that whenever we pull this financial overview, this is a snapshot of your financial health in the moment. So what this is going to do is this is not going to save every time that you pull this, but you are going to notice that you have a history. So if you are wanting to pull this, let's say monthly, bi-weekly, you are going to want to make sure that when you pull this report, that you come over to the top right-hand side here and take a snapshot. So what this is going to do is memorialize this report here so that if you do need to come back, maybe review reports side by side, you do have access to that now within your drop-down menu. So you'll be able to see that in your history that you saved this report from 2/24. First box of detail we're going to see is our project details. Now, a lot of our reporting that comes out of RedTeam, you're going to see this level of detail. So it's going to let you know your company division, your project name and number, who your customer is, your facility, and that contact information for that project manager. Right next to that is we have our contract details. So you're going to see the date of your original contract, those original days, and the original amount of your contract. Right below that, you will see a sum of your authorized change orders. So again, maybe changes to days and then your amounts. And then you'll have a total of your modified contract. So that will be your original contract plus your authorized changes. Some other pieces of information we'll have our contract balance to finish here. If there are any potential scope changes. And then if you fill these out to begin with, you'll have your contract start date, your contract completion date, and the anticipated completion date of your contract here. Our next section is going to be our estimate at complete. Now you're going to take a look at this. It's going to look very similar to kind of what your budget tab looks like. So it's kind of recording a lot of that same information. There are a few key differences. Our estimate at complete is going to be divided into our labor categories. So you'll see here, we have our direct labor, our material, our subcontract equipment, and our other. We're also going to capture here your total direct cost, your total indirect cost, your total cost here. So we have percent at complete, and then that profit margin. Your budget, your actuals, and your open are all going to read exactly like your budget tab would. So we have your budgeted amounts for each of these labor cost categories. We have our actuals. So these again are going to be our invoices, timesheets, any of the actual money that we have spent is going to show those values here. In our open, so our open are going to be any of those open commitments, our subcontract agreements, our purchase orders, labor, authorizations, those will show up as our values here. Now you're going to have your ETC. Now our ETC is going to be a combination of what would be our at-risk and our contingency on our budget. We'll have our complete column here. and then our variance, so we can check our over under kind of at a glance here. Next section is going to be our working capital. Here we're going to total up your over under build, your net cash flow, and your net working capital. Now, instead of RedTeam just giving you these numbers, what we've done is we've laid out the math to get to those numbers. So right above, you're going to actually see the formula and the numbers that RedTeam used in order to get this total here. So we have our total revenue less total build for our over under build. You'll see here received to date less paid to date for your net cash flow and so forth. Right below, we're going to see our customer changes, internal changes, both authorized and potential. This is going to give us a high level overview of any of those changes. We do have reporting that gives a little bit more detailed information on these. So again, you're just going to see what the change was here, whether the days affected and the price affected. Now, one additional thing we can add to this report is going to be adding our budget. So just kind of adding a little more flavor, a little more detail to this report. We have 3 ways we can show our budget. So we can show our budget by cost code, by scope, and if you use them by phases. So we're going to choose by cost code here and take a look at what that looks like. All right, so you're going to see here, this is a budget report, basically. It's going to lay out just like your budget tab does. So you'll have your cost code, your category, the description, and you're going to have all of this detail for each cost code line item. So your estimate, your budget, your actuals, your open, your at risk, your contingency, your complete, and your over under. All right. And that is it for our financial overview. Are there any questions on this reporting here?
I am not seeing any questions at the moment.
Fantastic. All right. So again, this is at a project level. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look into our projects tab on the left-hand side here. We're going to choose our WIP tab. So that's going to be our work in progress. Now, this is going to give us various financial reports, basically for all of our projects that are in progress, and then any projects that maybe are closed at the moment that have had some billing activity within the year. So just a quick tour of this WIP tab. You're going to see each project laid out as individual line items. So their project number, the project name, you'll see their contract value, the revenue, their billing, their underbilled, overbilled, and backlog here. You'll also be able to see the status of that project. Now, when you created your project, you were able to choose your revenue recognition. So we have 2 revenue recognitions here at RedTeam. It's revenue equals billing and percentage of completion. Now, this is easily changed and just from this tab here. So if you have right under your project name, you're going to be able to see what your current revenue recognition is. So for Daily Bugle renovation, we see here that they're using revenue equals billing. Now, if you ever want to change, you would come over to your tools bar here, select revenue recognition, and just select the revenue recognition that you would like to apply to that project. So if I would like to change to revenue equals billing, I would simply just select that option, hit save, and it's going to change that for me. Now, if you ever want to know where these numbers are coming from, how this is being totaled, you can always come in here and click this blue revenue button next to the project. Go into this one. In the blue box, you are going to see the formula that RedTeam is using to get to that cost. And then right below, you are actually going to see your numbers pulled into that formula to see how RedTeam got that exact revenue number. And again, anytime you need to, you can just toggle between the two just from your tools bar. And just one more option from your tools bar we're not going to get into in this training today, but however, you can select here. There are a few project level reports that you can pull just directly from here. So your actual costs, your performance overview, and your scope of work. This is also another, let me say that. Another way that you can access that financial overview just by clicking this paper right next to the project number. All righty. So now we do have a few separate types of financial reports we can pull from our WIP tab. Again, this gives us access to all of our projects that are in progress and maybe any of those closed projects that have had any activity or billing activity within the year. So first one is going to be our work in progress. Now this is going to be literally a snapshot of that tab, just in a report form. So we'll take a look at that really quick. We'll give that 1 second to load. All right, so you'll see here, this report's laid out again, exactly like that tab is with our project, our name, all the contract value, that revenue, billing, the underbilled, overbilled, our backlog, and our status. So this allows you to print this report. You can save it as a PDF, attach it to any emails you may need, and you can also export this data here. Next report we'll take a look at is our project accounting. So this report here, we're going to have our project, so our number and our project name. We're going to see our current contract value. Right next to that, we are going to see our direct costs, so our prior, current, and total. Then we're going to take a look at our billing, so our prior, current, and total billing. You'll see a column for your accounts payable, and then one for your accounts receivable, and then you will be able to see the status of the project. So each project will have its own line item within those columns there. You're also going to be able to see here on the top corner what that through date is for this reporting. Again, this can be printed, saved as a PDF, and we can also just close from this top corner. Next report is our revenue and gross profit. And like our previous reports, again, each project's going to be its own line item with the number and the name. We're going to get our contract value. Then we're going to get our estimated gross profit. We will also get a percent complete of the project, our total revenue, our total direct costs, our total gross profit, our total billing, our underbilling and overbilling, and then our backlog here. And again, we can print, save as PDF, or close. We're also going to be given what the through date is right up here in our right-hand corner. Next report is our estimate at complete. Project name and number over on the left will have our actual start date of our project and our anticipated finish date. We're going to have our contract value. Then we're going to have our direct costs for each of our cost categories, our labor, subcontract, direct, or material, equipment, and other. We're going to have our total direct cost, our estimated gross profit. We're also going to have our total indirect cost, our estimated profit, and then who that project manager is on this project. Again, print, save as PDF, or close. Last is we are going to be able to pull a project's financial overview. Now notice this does not bring us to a report. It brings us to a box where we can generate a report. So what we're going to do is we are going to, on our RedTeam side, is we are going to pull this report from the back end, depending on the information you give us here. So you're going to select the project status that you want us to pull the information for. We can do the current WIP. So again, all of those projects that are in progress and any that have had any billing activity within the year. Or you can choose specifically open projects, maybe projects in draft, request, proposal, in progress, or closed. Once you select your statuses, you're going to select an email address here, input an email address for us to send that report to. You're going to confirm, and on the RedTeam side, we are going to generate that report for you. So what that report is going to be is essentially, it is going to be a large spreadsheet. Each project is going to have its own row. And within those rows, you are going to receive a full financial overview for each of the projects. Now, this is a large report. This will allow you to export that data into, let's say, an Excel, numbers, so that you can create charts, tables, kind of review that data outside of RedTeam within those spreadsheets. As far as financial reporting, that is all that I have for you today. Do we have any other questions?
I'm not seeing any questions in the chat or the Q&A at the moment.
All right, fantastic. Well, I'm going to stop it here. We'll keep it open for just a few seconds for any last minute questions. But thank you so much for joining us today.